Welcome into the Extra Point. Jim Funderburg along with Coach Kevin Klein. And Kevin, I'll tell you, we've not had many of these times when we had to get together after we actually lost a game on Friday night.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I don't either.
I'll say that much right now. So
I don't think there's probably anybody in your whole staff or the kids or anybody that were too happy on the way home Friday night.
No, and I think it paints a little bit of a picture for us, and Delta's a good team, and I think we understand we've got some things we got to work on and fix going forward. We still have a lot of football left this year, so hopefully we can get the ship righted and get some things straightened out that we need to get straightened out going forward.
Yeah, the good news is it is early.
Yeah.
That is the good news. And like we talked, I think, the last couple of weeks, I don't think this is going to be a league where somebody goes through without loss this year. There's a good possibility everybody is going to lose at least one time in conference this year.
Yeah, you never know. That's the biggest downside to that game. We understood going into it that the winner of that game really you control your own fate in the league. And now we've got to rely on somebody else to knock them off, and that'll be. That's a pretty good team. It's going to be a challenge, and I think they still have a couple quality opponents left that they're going to face, but they're going to have to play pretty well to beat them. They're a good team all the way around.
They're not a real huge number-wise group, but man, I'll tell you what, those guys, they competed all night long.
Yeah, tough kids. They had a lot of kids that are in that 6 foot range, about 180, 185, and just good athletes. What we talked about last week. They had a lot of good athletes there, and they had a couple kids I thought played really well for them. You watch them on film, and I thought, well, that kid's a good player, but then seeing them in person, they did a nice job. I thought their one corner, number 27, did a really good job defensively, and their safety. Two guys that we had seen on film and thought they were good players, but they made a couple really spectacular plays against us that got my attention.
Everything looked like it was heading in the right direction early. First quarter, basically, we've controlled everything. Again, had maybe an opportunity to put some more points on the board, but didn't quite get that way. But then that 81-yard touchdown run all of a sudden just seemed to turn the light bulb on with those guys somehow.
Yeah, well, that was a big play for them, and like you said, we had some opportunities. We've done this in the last couple games. We get down the red zone, or we get the ball back, and we've got the lead, and that's when we got to figure out how to put some things together offensively and kind of increase that lead and build more momentum. We struggled doing that the last couple of weeks, and I think it's just finally caught us. And it's just one of those things. It's a little bit unfortunate, but at the same time, you hope your kids learn from it. And going forward, we understand that we've got to stay focused for the full amount of time. And you're right about that one big play. We'd seen him do it on film time and time again. And boy, once he gets the corner on you, we had one missed tackle on it, and then he was off the races. There's nobody that was going to catch him. So he might be one of the fastest. There's no might about it. I would say he's the fastest kid. Levi Wise is probably right there with him, but Storeholder looked really fast in pads. That's for sure. He runs well.
Man, he did. I mean, especially on that run. Past that run, though, relatively boxed him up. I mean, 12 carries, 55 yards, I think, was the rest of that.
About broke a return on us. At 1.2, set him up with some good field position. So he's dangerous, and that team's pretty good. So I think it's a good wake-up call for us. Hopefully we utilize that going forward.
The offense they run is not a typical offense that you're going to see with those two wing players that would line up in all types of different configurations there. And the quarterback, while he's not a great runner or a great thrower, seems to facilitate really well in that system,
I think they gave him a couple times where he could check the plays and stuff like that. And, one of those things that you really don't notice just sitting up in the stands, but I thought he did a good job of managing the game. He does very effective with their offense. They don't ask him to do a ton in terms of the passing game, but when they want him to dial something up, he threw that one deep ball. We didn't cover it very well, but he put that ball right on the money and made the play when he had to. And I thought he was very effective and efficient for what they want to do. And he's only a junior. They got a couple of kids. The Storeholder kid's only a junior too. So they got some kids coming back next year. They got a nice leadership out of their juniors and seniors right now.
It really seemed that way. All the way around, and they were tussling the whole night. Now, obviously it broke a whole bunch of streaks. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, big deal. Numbers they're going to end at some point in time. Before last week, because I don't think anybody was totally aware of the numbers, how many games in a row, until you went into that head-to-head game with a team that could beat you, okay? Did that streak or anything play at all in your guys' mind, and did it play into that game last Friday night at all?
We didn't talk about it too much, to be honest with you, Jim. It's something that I think everybody knew that was out there. Every once in a while somebody would say something about it, but it wasn't really a main focus of ours. I think we've gone in every week just with the mindset of we know what we have to do to compete in the league. We know what we have to do to get into playoffs, and so that was more of our focus than the streak. So, now that it's over, it is a little bit like, okay,
yeah,
we don't have to think about that
Let's
anymore.
Get rid of
it's
that
not
darn thing,
back in the mind anymore, and it was a neat little run there. And then you really start to step back and think, boy, it's been 2.5 years since we've had this feeling, and I think that's why for a lot of us, it's a little bit. We don't like it, and we don't know how to respond to it and how to react to it, because it's just been a while since we've had to, and now it's getting back to work.
Yeah, that's all you can do at this point in time. All in all, I thought Brandon Dean had a pretty decent night. Still again a young guy feeling his way out there. He made some big mistakes with the interceptions at times.
Yeah.
But boy, he also made some good plays. 3 touchdowns and a touchdown pass.
We rely on him heavily, and he was under duress all night. Their defensive line was very good, and we thought that would be the strength of their defense coming in, but I just didn't. Their big kid in the middle, Veller kid, got a good push all night, and then one of the kids we didn't talk about is the Patchen kid, who used to be a linebacker, was an all-league player at linebacker. They took and moved him down to D-tackle, and he really gave us fits all night long. And so Brandon a lot of times was scrambling around back there, and you're right. I think we still have some work to do in developing our passing game, but he got us out of some situations and ran the ball pretty well at times, and he got his number called quite a bit, and he was stepping up, especially late in that fourth quarter. Him and his brother both, and we got a great group of seniors really that have learned how to win, and I was really proud of the fact that in that fourth quarter they were still competing, and those two guys, the two deans were right up front leading the charge. So
they sure were. Nate Rowell had a good night, 12 catches, almost 100 yards. You got that touchdown late there to Gavin, and all of a sudden you're sitting up there in the booth thinking, okay, well, here we go again. We're within a touchdown, and we're going to get this ball back, and things are going to work for us again. Again, the team played right down to that last final second that you had.
Yeah, and they did, and you're exactly right. When we got down 3 touchdowns, it was one of those situations where you start thinking in the back of your mind, boy, I hope we don't get blown out here. We better wake up and start playing. And I thought our kids responded really well, and then before you know it was 2, and we had gotten it to 1. And we had the ball. We had a chance there to really tie it up, and we just couldn't come up with enough magic to bail ourselves out. But our kids played hard, and I was really proud of their effort and what they did, and just especially in that fourth quarter, they had me believing, that's for sure. I've learned that over the years that don't give up on these guys quite yet, because they can pull off some magic, find ways to do it, and I think that was one of the hardest things about it. Was I think we all were of that mindset. Hey, we're going to pull this thing out. We're going to do this, and looking back at it, there's a few things you'd always do a little bit different that could have made a difference, but it just was what it was.
Waiting for the overtime game. The question I was going to have was, were you going for 2, I guess, at that point in time?
We debated it. We debated what we were going to do. I don't know that we came to any conclusion. I think, given the circumstances, and we felt like we were swinging the momentum back in our favor, we probably would have kicked it.
Okay.
But we didn't have to make that decision, so.
Never got that far, unfortunately, on Friday night.
No.
Oh, well, it was a good game. It was an interesting game. How many times do you see an official go out of game like that one?
Not too often, that's for sure.
Thank goodness. And he kind of got in the wrong spot at the wrong time.
Yeah.
So he took a pretty good hit at that point in time, and he had a few problems after that. And it's tough to have a guy down calling such a big game at that point in time too. I think the officials would like to be at full strength to be able to call a game as good as that.
I think they got an earful from both sides. So.
Yeah, I think they probably did. I probably think they probably did. All right, well, that one's in the rearview mirror. So let's take a timeout. When we come back, we'll talk about the game in front of us, and that's Swanton here on the Extra Point. Well, Coach, it didn't get any easier. You started all over this week. You got to go back to Swanton. You pack them all up. You put them on a bus, and it's going to be a tough Friday night again.
Yeah, and Swanton's a quality opponent. Obviously they have changed the culture over there and what's going on, and they're a much different team than what they were a year ago. So it'll be a good challenge for our kids having to go to Swanton this week after having that long trip to Delta last week.
Looks like they were in a dogfight with Wauseon last week too, and I guess the little bit that I could read, there was an onside kick at the very end. Wauseon recovered, I guess, and scored. Then, is that? Have you seen the?
Yeah, we saw the footage. It was actually Swanton did the onside kick, and Swanton recovered it.
Oh, okay.
And then they went down and scored and cut into the lead a little bit. Wauseon jumped on them pretty early, but those kids from Swanton, man, they hung around and They got some really nice athletes as well. Some of those kids have been playing since their sophomore year and are really stepping up now as juniors and seniors and making plays for them. So completely different team than what they were a year ago in terms of the athleticism and what they're bringing to the table.
Obviously, we've already talked about Mike Vickers heading over to Swanton and everything, helping to maybe turn the attitude of those guys around. Again, they've got one of the bigger rosters in the conference this year. Looking at that thing, I mean, there's 70-plus kids on that roster going from freshman all the way up to senior, which is about double what you saw on the sideline last week. Yeah. But it comes down again to that junior class. That's been the one that they've bragged about for the last several years, and now they're coming into their own, it seems like.
Yeah, that's a very solid class for them. And, you know, I think Phil Wicker last year, you know, was in the process of building up their numbers. You know, they had pretty decent numbers last year. So they were returning quite a few kids that had some experience. And then, you know, of course, when Mike comes in and then he brings Tim with him, those guys just find a way to get more and more kids out. And you're right, they are one of the bigger sized teams in the league in terms of numbers, and I think they've got those kids believing, they got the community believing. They've lost 2 games, but they've both been really close games, and they've had chances to win both those games. So, you know, they went from a program where a year ago they were getting beat in some games 60-something to you know, very little points. They had a little bit of offense last year to now. You know, they've won 2 games and really won those 2 games handily, and they've lost 2 games at very close margins. So they're a much different team.
Reading about them, not seeing them, it seems like they've got a pretty decent junior quarterback. Yeah. And they've got another running back that's got some pretty good quicks to him too.
Yeah. They have a nice mix of kids again. You know, and the quarterback is one that really stands out. You know, he played for him last year as a sophomore. Now he's a junior. Can really throw it around a little bit. Makes plays with his feet. Matter of fact, he made a play against Wauseon. And I was like, holy cow, it's shimmy. It was a shimmy play.
Oh, wow.
It was one of those where he starts one way and then loose back, and you're like, where is this kid going? He's, you know, 20, 30 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and all of a sudden he just takes off and finds a seam and scores a touchdown, and that's the one that brought him within 6 at the end of the game. So he's pretty impressive, and he throws the ball out there. He's got 2 really nice wideouts. You know, the Gilsdorf kid's back from last year. He was their leading receiver from a year ago. And he's got good quicks and good speed when he catches the ball and does a nice job running routes. So, you know, I think in the past when we've seen Mike Vickers and we've seen Tim Spee's teams, you know, those guys have really just pounded the ball and they get their wing T stuff. But with these guys, they've opened it up quite a bit. You know, I would say they're a lot more balanced this year than what they've been before. We've seen them in some spread sets and doing some things out the shotgun, and then they'll still get under center and pound the ball. And they do have some really good running backs with Bryan and Matt Rainey. Those are 2 quality kids running the ball for them.
Well, it's going to be an interesting week, and as always, you know, the numbers are over, the streaks are gone, and all those kind of things. But you're still the guys that have won the conference the last 2 years, so they're gunning for you. And obviously, you've got a reputation you got to get back this week too.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be 2 good teams going at it. So it's you know, I don't know anything about as far as the league race and all that stuff goes on. You know, it'll sort itself out. But we both know that this is an important game. It's an important game in terms of playoffs and keeping those league hopes alive. And I think they're a quality opponent, and you know, I think we've done enough in the past that it should be a really good contest going into Friday night.
Should be. Well, we're to that point in the program right now, Coach. What's it going to take to win Friday night?
Well, you know, looking back at last Friday and some of the things we didn't do, we've got to execute better offensively in our defensive game plans, and then you know, turnovers. Those turnovers are big. You know, it's one of those things. I think people get tired of coaches saying that, but it really hinges upon you know, our ability to take care of the ball and then set up good field position. You know, those things kind of go hand in hand, and when we're able to do that, we're able to have a lot more success. You know, and you know, I think with our kids, you know, we got to be on the alert, and we got to respond from a tough loss a week ago. So, you know, mentally, I think we've got to be in the game right away and ready to go from the beginning.
That's what it's going to take, then that's what we have to do, huh? It's time to turn this thing around, because none of us like what we're feeling like right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Not used to that. You go home, and the whole way home you're driving going, I can't believe we just lost that game.
Yeah, you replay a lot of things in your head that you would do differently, and you know, now, like you said before, that game's gone and in the past, so we got to move forward, and the quicker we move forward and focus in on our next opponent, the better off we'll be.
That's the only thing you can do. We've got Zach Hazlett with us this week. Chris is going to be gone all weekend, so Zach the Cat's going to be my color guy this week. We're going to be on bryansports.com. That'll start at 6:45 with the pregame show, and then obviously the Saturday night replay on BMU Sports and up on bryansports.com whenever you'd like to get back and watch those ball games. Coach, thanks a lot. Good luck this week. Thanks for being on Extra Point.
Appreciate it.